Let's get into it, mate. Let's have a look at the first one that you've got there.
Well, this one's a ripper. This is a post from anonymous participant. It says this, parenting apps. The lawyer has just suggested that I use Family Wizard for all communication with OP, OP being the other party.
The other party, yeah.
Is there any free apps that are just as good, or do I need to just bite the bullet and use this app? Referring to Family Wizard or My Family Wizard, whatever it's called. What do you think about apps that they try to make you use?
I was actually surprised, didn't realise that they actually had apps for you to communicate with your other partner as such.
Well, you can see why they'd recommend them.
Well, sadly, we've had to go down this road due to people going to court with accusations of, abuse.
Right.
Whether it's justified or not. Some of the cases that I've heard in the past where one parent has tried to communicate with another parent and someone's ended up in court. So, yeah, look, it's something that's popped up, obviously, and I wasn't aware of it. And do they charge an absolute fortune for it, or what?
Well, they do charge.
This guy's asking for free, so...
They do charge, and we'll get back to that potentially. I'm just going to flag here that even when there are parenting apps in use, and essentially what they do is very similar to WhatsApp, where it's got a record of text messages and voice messages, etc., that you might leave for the other party to read. But the issue is that regardless of having it recorded, it's still about perspective. One party could say, "Oh, can't you tell from the tone that this person is being abusive?"
Yeah.
And so that's where this really breaks down. And I would say that even using one of these apps is a non-starter just on that basis alone before we get to more substantial matters. I mean, if you were being tracked like that, do you think it would change the way that you communicate with someone?
Probably not.
Probably not. Well, that's the dumb cunt that you are.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't use it, to tell you the truth.
No. Well. Okay. So let's get onto it here. Within the Family Law Act itself, there are no powers specific to making an order for a parenting app.
Yeah.
What the Family Law Court relies on, and justices, judges, registrars, and just once again to restate, are you a lawyer, John?
No, I'm not actually.
And neither am I.
And this is not legal advice either, by the way. This is for educational purposes.
Yes, this should not be construed as legal advice.
Correct.
So as I was saying, the court doesn't have any specific powers. What they do is rely on their broader powers to make orders of the court, and so they become binding in that way. So on to the more substantive matter of whether someone should use a parenting app. Again, in this post, you don't see anything about should I be forced to use a parenting app, because that would be the first thought that comes to my mind. Like, can a court force me to communicate in a prescribed way?
No, they can't.
Well, they
don't have the power to do that.
Well, they can if you consent to it, but otherwise, it's on the record if you're wanting to reject that and say no, I'm not using a parenting app. But you can see the stalemate that can occur, because if one party says, well, I consent to using this parenting app, and in fact I'm going to block all other communication, and the other party says, well, I'm not going to use the designated parenting app, and they're trying to communicate in other ways, they're blocked from. So now you have a real issue. And in that situation, what do you think?
Well, one of the parties is going to, lose out.
Well, the party that obviously loses out in the cases that we're talking about,
Will be the one that chooses not to use it.
well, more substantial than that will be the children.
100%. Because that'll
Did
be
you
that'll
forget
be,
about the fucking children, John?
No, that'll be the flow-on effect.
Well, but why are people having to communicate? It's because of the children, like to make sure that there's changeovers, to keep
Yep.
communication about, medical issues
Mhm.
or school issues,
Yep.
or who's going to pick up Johnny from the from basketball.
Mm.
And so if you're forcing people to go through these apps, I'm against them personally. I think that they're like whenever you're giving the court jurisdiction to force such a thing onto you,
Yep.
I'm not for it. Like when you're having to force them to make medical procedures, or having to force to communicate in a certain fashion. I think that these are actually weapons of control. I think that's
Yep.
what they are.
Yep.
Because it allows one party, and it will just about always be the female, wanting these apps to be used,
Yeah.
so that they don't have to communicate via a WhatsApp or text or
Email,
phone call.
phone calls. Yeah.
Right, it's a method of control.
Mm.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so why do lawyers and courts push them then?
Why do lawyers and courts push them?
Well, let's take this apart. Why would a lawyer push for you to use AppClose or Our Family Wizard or whatever it is?
Yeah, look, I would guess to say that by pushing an app like this, they take out the opportunity of false accusations and breaches of IVOs and AVOs, because as we've seen, there's been a number of different breaches according to people getting their nose out of joint with a request for the children or something along those lines. And straight away they've gone running off to the courts, wasting the court's time, wasting the lawyer's time for what could be classified a non-breach anyways.
But how would using AppClose or Family Wizard stop that? Like it's still...
Look, I've never used them, so I don't know exactly how they operate. I'm just going to guess that, one of the parties would go to the app and say, requesting contact, whatever, and then the app itself generates its own non-generic response requesting or... No?
They're essentially like WhatsApp.
Like a text thing.
Yeah.
So whatever I say, they'll get.
Yeah, it's WhatsApp, except you can't delete messages. Like that's all it is.
Oh, so the purpose is not to delete messages. So
No.
there's a historical communication channel there. Okay. All right. So it was from that perspective, not from the perspective of, that was abusive.
No, but my point is that you could still construe something as abusive, even if it's in AppClose or My Family Wizard. Because, and this is very much the point, is that accusation or allegation is just that. It's down to interpretation. It's about feelings over facts. So I'm saying that someone using AppClose, say I text my ex and I say, hey, like I want to see so-and-so. Yeah. And so she'll go to the court and go, he's not allowed to communicate like that. Like, look at the tone he's using. Something to that effect.
Yeah. Right,
and so it's no difference. Secondly, it really brings to my mind, it's like, okay, so you wanna stop abuse, so then you use one of these apps. It's very similar in my mind to saying, there's all of this crime going on, let's introduce a machete bin. you know, it's like the crime is still going to happen. The communication is
It's still going to happen. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's so in my mind that they are just instruments of control. And for me, the reason why a lawyer would push it, it's almost like it's a reinforcement of their authority, and you know, they are in alignment with the court.
Yeah.
So when they push the court's authority, they're really pushing their authority as well. Say, oh, you know, it's just standard practice that we use these apps. So let's have a look at some of the comments on them. I hate Family Wizard. It's the worst app and crashes all the time. Not worth the fee. Okay, so that's pretty categorical. This young lady, she says, talking parents, I've used it for 3 years and swear by it, and it's free. Not surprising that's a woman who said that. Then anonymous participant says cooperate. Right, so you're starting to get a flavour.
Yeah.
It's all about you know, complying.
Complying. Yeah, yeah.
And you know, as you'll listen to us talk about, that we're not for complying, not for the reason of just for not complying's sake, but because the orders are fairly arbitrary that you're agreeing to. Here's another comment. Family Helper app, that's another one. This one is the cheapest in Australia, and I think try for free for 20 days. Only one person needs to pay the subscription.
Okay.
I wonder which one that will be. Anyone know if I can request OP to pay them? So these sorts of issues come up, of course. Someone says worth the money, is worth the payment. If you have a HCC, I think that's a high conflict, and that you can apply for a fee exemption for our Family Wizard.
Oh, okay.
It's not free, but the best app I found was the Two Houses parenting app. I stopped using it, crashed all the time. Family Wizard is like $400 a year, so there you go. You get to, and then someone says use the app with this symbol. So there's no one with our perspective, which is that these apps are, you know, beyond the authority of the court to be telling you how you communicate. And if we had freedom of speech in Australia, it would certainly violate that if you're being coerced or pressured into using one, to say that you can't communicate with your children unless you do it in the way that we tell you. And that's really my perspective on it, that this is coercion and fear-based, and that then they're going to threaten you with, you know, breaching you if you contravene the order. So of course I would say you'd never consent to that.
Well, it's quite funny because, you know, on one side of the fence they talk about coercion and control, and then on the other side of the fence they're pushing it.
Well, I think this is very much where we're going with this.
So, you know, you can't do this, but we can. So, you know, how could that ever end up being good?
Well, I don't think it can. I mean, I was in a situation where I was being asked to use one of these, and I said no. If you want to know how that ended up, you can message the channel privately. I can let you know, but it's not something I'd disclose.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's wrap that up. And this podcast has been brought to you by Fair Dinkum Legal, producing documents for you at a fraction of the cost of legal fees and all the pain associated.
Take a look at it.
Check it out.
Cheers.